the sound of a Red Dragon Rain being cracked open because, gosh, do I feel like garbage. Welcome, guys, to the pod of the Steel Guitar Podcast. Your boy Cole here. It's been a little bit while since I've recorded one. It's been kind of busy at work. Let's see here. Yesterday was my 12th day working in a row. Put in about 58 hours last week. Actually, in 2 days, Friday would be my last day at my current job. Decided that I need to try to move on and find something else to do. So, in the meantime, I'll be recording a few more podcasts and getting more stuff out. May even up it to 3 times a week till I find my next gig. So, here's to new beginnings. And cheers to all you guys out there doing the same thing that I do, putting in that hard work every single week, regardless if you're an artist, blue-collar worker, out there grinding, or just doing whatever you're doing. Cheers. So there's been a lot going on the last 2 weeks in the country music grand scheme of things, and some controversial news. It seems like country music always gets caught up in this controversial ordeal about politics and the music and it seems like it's always uncanny, even to days like Okie from Muskogee with Merle Haggard. The whole thing with Morgan Wallen was a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm not too entirely sure. I don't follow Morgan Wallen that closely, but there's been a lot going on in realms of politics, and it's one of those things where country music always seems to catch slack for stuff. And the target of this new backlash is Jason Aldean. Jason Aldean put out his single 2 months ago before even this controversy even started to stop, of Try This in a Small Town, which centers around essentially riots and crime and saying that, hey, if you try this in a small country town, it's not going to get by because these country folk know how to defend themselves, which is very much it is a very true statement. If you've ever met anybody from a small town, 90% of them either owns a singular firearm handgun and they know how to use it because they've been trained. Like how Aldean says in verse about how he's got his grandfather's gun, and essentially his grandfather taught him how to shoot the gun. That is very much realistic here in the South. I remember growing up and my dad teaching me how to shoot my .22 first growing up. Very low caliber. You're not too keen on guns. .22 is like one of the most lowest caliber guns. It's also got a fairly fast fire rate. Not much kick to it, so it's a really good gun if you're wanting to start out and learn how to shoot a rifle in general. That's a gun that I would recommend, especially for like a kid. It's not too much kick, so they don't have to sit there and like shoot once and then be like, holy crap, my shoulder feels like it's going to fall off. It's kind of weird because let's go ahead and state the obvious here. I am one man. I have one opinion about everything, and everybody else is acute to their own opinion. Opinions is what makes this country what it is in America, and I would assume in a universal look. If I know I have a listener in Belgium, which, man, if you ever want to talk, reach out to me, send me an email. I find it very intriguing. There's somebody in Belgium that listens to my podcast every single episode, so thank you so much. I don't know your name, but again, I put the email in my description on every single podcast, so feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I'd love to talk country music with you and see your unique perspective on country music. So, yeah, it's definitely a whole ordeal of politics encompassing into music, and that's always happened, not just country music, but it seems to be kind of the grand scheme of things, especially in country music, because a lot of it holds that conservative rural values in most people's minds, which I'll go ahead and say, in my opinion, if you actually listen to country music and about what it is to be quote-unquote country, it's not all about being inherently racist or inherently pro-gun, pro-First Amendment, stuff like that. It's not all about that. Now, there's talks about that in songs, and absolutely I agree in Southern culture that is something that is most definitely there. But one thing that I will say is just listen to country music for what it is, and not all of it's pro-gun, not all of it's pro-conservatism. It's about being true to who you are more or less than anything. And I feel like anybody in the world could get a great viewpoint on country music. It'd be a great insight in country music in your life. It's just being true to yourself, not trying to hide who you are. And, some people will say, well, you're trying to hide your inherited racism, from the Confederacy in the South, and then you get into a big deep dive on a whole bunch of a witch hunt sometimes. So let's go ahead and talk about the single itself. So I will preface this as I am not a current Jason Aldean fan. I used to really enjoy his original stuff back when he first started. I feel like he's definitely towing the line for sure here of country music. So he's got like the country music background and everything. And then there's some people that say, well, this song is definitely country music. And there's other people that say, Jason Aldean hasn't been country music ever. So I don't know exactly where I am on the grand scheme of things. I don't really believe that his country music is true neo-traditional country music like other people. But I will say that I'm sure in the mainstream is that he's very popular. I know there's a lot of people I work with that listen to country music, and him and Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs and people like that. And I'm not discrediting Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen or whatever. I'm not trying to say that they're not good artists. I'm just saying that traditional country music, that they're not what I would deem country music. Luke Combs a little bit closer, definitely. I'm not going to discredit that. But like I said, this is my opinion, and I feel like everybody is a value to their opinion. If you disagree, that is perfect. If you agree, that's cool. I don't care. That's what makes this country and the universal countries, what makes the earth amazing, is one guy can have one opinion and one other guy can have a completely opposite side of opinion, and you can respect that opinion. And that is what America is to me. That sense of being able to not necessarily always agree and not also agree to disagree, but just being able to exist together in the same world with people that have so many differing opinions, which is just absolutely mind-numbing if you really think about it. But anyways, if we're really talking about just the song itself, if you break the song down itself, the first time I heard about this controversy, I don't listen to mainstream radio. I don't listen to what comes out on Music Row. So I was completely oblivious to whatever was going on. I actually had someone I work with mention it. I'm like, I heard about it, but I've not really looked into it. So what I did is, of course, I did what most people have done that are inherently either offended by this or just trying to understand what's going on. Is I listened to the song on whatever platform. So he's getting a lot of plays out of it in general. So it's really not necessarily good press, but some people say bad press is good press, as long as you're getting your song essentially played, even if it's for the wrong reasons. So nobody can argue that it's not definitely helping his numbers in regards to playing it. Now, if it was decided to be, done for that purpose, now that's a different argument. But I listened to the song 2 to 3 times, and I actually had a coworker back there with me that does not listen to country music at all, does not care for it. And he walked back there after wherever he was, his own break or whatever. I said, hey, I got this song to play. And I played the song, and I told him, I said, just look at the song, think about it, and think the universal insight of everything if you find anything wrong with this song. And we played it, and it talks about not trying crime in a small town. So like burning the flag and stuff like that. Some of that could be pointed to, the riots and stuff of whole ordeal of crime and everything going on. But it never specifically says, hey, you insert whatever political organization or you group of people, whatever. It never states that specifically. It just states crime and people not trying it in their town. Anyways, this song is inherently okay. I even asked my coworker, and he said, well, of course, the burning of the flag includes some political things where it's it's very devious, and there's some stuff that's going on. I'm like, oh yeah, I agree to that. I mean, most people would say there's nothing almost more un-American than burning the flag that our soldiers serve and protect. They're not really trying to adhere to the whole American culture and what it means to be American and stuff like that. So I will agree with him on that front, but there's nothing inherently talked about racism or lynching or anything, and the problem lies with the music video. So, the video came out 2 months after the fact. So, nobody had a problem with the song to initially begin. Nobody did. And then they released the music video. And the music video, very much, he's in front of a courthouse. And this courthouse is in Tennessee. It's actually a very short distance from Nashville. And this distance from Nashville is very minuscule. So it was really easy. And I'm sure we're talking logistically, it was like one of the easiest courthouses to get to that would look good. So they shut it down and used this courthouse. However, there was a very famous lynching back in the 1920s, I think the late 1920s, of a African American that was talked about, and he got lynched publicly at that courthouse. And it's one of those bigger, let's say, cases in regards to there was lynchings from not necessarily the 20s, but way before that. And it wasn't just always, lynching has not always been a race thing. Lynching has been going on ever since the Wild West, especially in like gangs in the Wild West. If you caught somebody and you were your anti-hero, kind of like how Arthur Morgan is in Red Dead 2, you could execute people on the fly, and it's not done based upon race or culture. It's about who you are as a person, and that lynching and stuff has been around for a long time. And I would probably say it's been longer than this country's been around. I'm sure there was lynchings back in, colonial days and stuff. But it's just one of those things that's been romanticized almost in a way in Wild West culture. And then it kind of lost that Wild West culture feel, and it turned into, now it's turned into the whole the civil rights movement, which, Jim Crow and stuff like that. And I would suggest that anybody that is oblivious to, Jim Crow and stuff like that, they actually take a Civil Wars class and learn about that, because it will get you a great insight about why people are viewing. If people are thinking on like the last 100 years, and they don't think about the last 200 or 300 years. So civil rights is being argued today, which I assume it's better because we're not lynching people on the side of the streets based upon who they are or their color, you know what I'm saying? I would say race relations have definitely gotten better, though. I mean, I would hope so. If not, then we have really screwed up. Civil rights movement is still going on to this day. It's an ever-going fight. But if you really think about, like, the whole premise of, like, them gaining independence and being able to vote, and that's when, most people would say at least they're on equal playing field in regards to political values and being able to vote and stuff like that. And this whole thing of the civil rights movement, and, there's obviously that conflict of, Southern culture, Confederacy, inherited racism and stuff like that to the song. So people are just so bit out of shape. And there's one thing that I think this song really discredits is country music. It's universal appeal. Country music always has been one of those genres where it feels like it's sectioned off from the world, and this song really does that premise a service, because now people that want to listen to country music, they hear this, especially people that are on like the liberal side of politics. They're like, oh my God, this is awful. And then you got the Southern, like, really conservative people being like, I support this song, what he said. Universal, like, if we were taking two pieces of plastic or metal and we had like this glue and we were letting this glue sit, it's really tearing those two metal parts away from each other before the glue is sit there to completely mend them together. So that's kind of where we're at in the grand scheme of this. And one thing that I will say is, talking to people at work, talking to people about this song universally around everything, there's like 4 to 5 different viewpoints on it, but we're going to hit the main 3. There's the people that actually really like Jason Aldean and the music that he puts out, but do not support this song. And the way that they're not able to support this particular song is it goes against their ideals as who they are as a person. Therefore, they have stopped listening to Aldean or discredit Aldean. There's the people that don't really like Aldean, and they hear the song and they're like, you know what, I really support what Aldean's saying in the song, so therefore Jason Aldean has gathered, a few million fans, thousands of fans, whatever. And then you have like the people that are in a weird spot where they like Jason Aldean and they want to support his music, and then they hear the song and they're just like, I feel like if I support Jason Aldean, I am, racist by the way that the media is pointing me. And my front manager at the store was talking about this, and we actually brought up the same example at the same time. But if we're thinking musically, you don't endorse people's political messages all the time. You don't have to agree with them to like their music. To like their music and to agree with them politically is 2 separate entities, right? If you like Jason Aldean, but you don't like this message that he's coming out with, that doesn't mean that you have to stop supporting Jason Aldean. Absolutely not. You just don't have to support this premise. And one thing that I think of is there's a YouTuber, and his name is Crazy Rabbit. He is indeed crazy. His viewpoints and stuff are crazy, and yeah, he's out there for sure. But I love watching him sometimes, and he does a lot of Call of Duty Zombies content, especially like old school Call of Duty Zombies, and he's very much a funny person. But he says some awful wall crap all the time. But that doesn't mean I necessarily endorse him as a political views or his racial views or whatever view that he has and stuff. I just enjoy the content that he puts out. Therefore, he actually mentioned R. Kelly once, and he had a joke and everything, but we all know that R. Kelly is a really bad human being for what he did. If you've not know what R. Kelly did, I would definitely suggest you look it up. However, when you look at R. Kelly just from the lens of his music, some of his music has impacted people for the positive. And I don't listen to R. Kelly personally, but this is like the most popular example that I can think of, right? You don't have to support R. Kelly for what he did, but you can still actually appreciate his music and what he put out. Some people would say Michael Jackson on the grand scheme of things, like the whole everything that come out with Michael Jackson historically. And I think of O.J. Simpson because I'm very much a sports nut. O.J. Simpson, as a sports athlete, you have to truly respect what he did as an athlete. But when it came to, what he did outside as an athlete, what he did as a human being, I don't necessarily endorse. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then you have people like Barry Bonds where they cheated within the sport, and therefore I don't acknowledge them in the sport, especially with records and stuff. And if you ever look at it from the world is a great debate, and there's no right or wrong, even though there will be preached right or wrong. And it's always going to be one of those things where your opinion is going to be what you have, and you're going to just have to uphold it. And if you are really against this person, then be really against this person, but don't crucify somebody else for having a different opinion than you. Because that's what the main thing about American politics in general, is it's just a great screaming match, and there's never a concise ending to anything. And you're not going to win, you're not going to lose. It's just going to be a great crap hole. So, back to Jason Aldean's single here. He did this essential music video that included BLM riots, so very much a racial thing. He included crime footage of actually 2 individuals that were African American that were robbing a store, and then having this white Southern guy like throw a haymaker at one and the other one ran out the door. And also included a lot of images of this courthouse, and this video is actually shot in front of the courthouse, and that this courthouse was where this lynching was happening. So it's really a big issue in country music because you had like the whole thing with Morgan Wallen saying the N word publicly, and Morgan Wallen's been known to do some, let's say, crazy stuff. He's a crazy individual. He likes to party. He's like Ricky Bobby, Cal from Talladega Nights. Talks about the stereo systems. I like to party. It's the same thing. I would say that if we're looking at it from the whole baseline period, Jason Aldean did not write this song. So therefore, he does not know the true premise of the song, because the songwriter, whatever was in the songwriter's heart when he wrote this song, that's what the song's about. However, what the songwriter's opinion is on this, and then what the actual artist's opinion is on it, it could be two totally different opinions. So we don't know where the true root and art of this song is. So that's where our first complication comes in, and that's what was called out by Jason Isbell. But if we're looking at country music in general, country music has always been controversial. You have people like Toby Keith, who live off political songs for a majority of their career. One song that comes to my mind is Beer for My Horses, where he talks about hanging people from a tree. Nobody inherently had a problem with that because he was talking about devious people in the Wild West times. And it has that parallel, essentially, to modern day. So nobody really had a big issue with that. I didn't see really a big screaming issue with that. But now that it's in the modern day with, everything going on, it's a big issue. So I don't know. I really don't know. But my big ordeal with this is I value anybody's opinion. I really do. And I don't think anybody should be discredited for what they believe. But what I believe is this. A, I think it was a horrible PR move to do it in front of this courthouse. It really was. And I feel like if they did it at another courthouse that had, maybe not so much of a historical lynching or whatever, but it may have had a lynching or two, but not done it in one where it has this prestigious, well-known lynching back in the 20s, it might have not been such a big issue. And if they eliminated a little bit of the BLM riots in the videos, sure. So was he making a political statement doing this? Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know from the great scheme of things. But if you really think about it, if you put Jason Aldean, you put yourselves in the shoes of Jason Aldean. If you don't have, I'm not saying this because I don't know where his control is over the music video. He puts that song out, he shoots the music video or whatever. I don't know if you have to give the universal thumbs up approval, or if he has no approval of this. But he shot him singing in front of the courthouse, sure. And there is that choice of he may have not known everything that went in front of that courthouse. He may have not read I'm sure there's a whole bunch of, we'll say, historical, not templates, what are the words I'm looking for? The historical markers, right? The historical markers that tell you, the history of places. He may have not read those. He was just we're going to set up, we're going to shoot in front of this courthouse. It's going to be super American of me to do this. And, yeah, he could have just done it like that. And then this music video come out, and they have no clue. But I will say, Jason Aldean is not known for not being non-controversial. He actually posted up some pictures of his kids in pro-Trump stuff, anti-Biden stuff. I think one of them was wearing a shirt that said "hiding from Biden," which is, a wordplay or whatever. And I think they ridiculed them extremely on that, and that might have been what motivated him to actually sing the song. the whole political climate of America, which is just a cluster. It really is. It feels like no matter what you believe, that you are not really able to express your opinion without being ridiculed by either side. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think maybe Aldean had no clue about the music video, or maybe he did. I don't know. It's a grand scheme of everything. I don't understand.
So yeah, that's everything, guys. I just want to conclude this podcast. Thank you guys for listening, of course. You guys mean so much to me. Make sure to check out all the links in the description, to check out the merch, to check out the individual podcasts and social medias and everything. And yeah, I just want to conclude it really quick today. And of course, as always,